Hi, everyone. Good evening. It is Wednesday, which means that Journey to Self is back. Tonight, we're going to be having a really timely conversation with Chrissy and Laura as the co-hosts this evening. And we're going to talk about something that affects millions of people around the world, and that is seasonal depression. I think every one of us feels those blues, especially as the days get shorter, the stresses of the holidays are upon us, having to manage, whether it's the stresses of buying presents or at work, year end at work, and just, dealing with the days getting, so short and dark early in the day. So, how does that affect you? So, tonight we're going to delve into this topic and we're going to talk about it from a lot of different angles. So, why don't we dive right in? Chrissy, I'm going to turn it over to you. Could you share kind of your experience that you've been having this holiday season or in general? And especially how you have been experiencing perhaps the holiday blues, what it means to you, but also how are you overcoming it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vicki. For me, I don't think I have a lot of seasonal depression. So like once it starts getting cold, it starts getting dark here in Ohio, it starts getting dark at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, right when I'm getting off of work. And I literally just don't want to leave my house almost. But what's strange is it wasn't always like that. When I was 10 years ago, I could care less what time it got dark, honestly. I still love Christmas. I really do. But not like I used to. Even when my kids were young and it was probably more stressful at the time. But like I loved it. I got so into it, the decorating, the Christmas shopping, I didn't buy a lot online. Like I would go to the stores, I would do the Black Fridays, I would do the whole thing. And I don't know, I've been talking to a lot of my patients about it lately, and it seems to be as I don't know if it's as I'm getting older or what it is, but it's like I've noticed myself getting really depressed when winter hits. Like I don't want to leave. I don't like the fact that it's dark. I'm just ready to curl up in my pajamas. And that's rough because it is a joyous holiday season. And I've always loved the Christmas lights and that whole aspect of it. And so it's really rough when you're kind of in this pickle of like, okay, like you want to be like joyous and all Christmassy, but yet at the same time, you don't want to leave your house and you don't want to do anything. Like if I didn't have to leave for work, I probably wouldn't. And it's honestly not even that cold here right now. So it's weird. So for me, like I'm still learning, because this has only been for me, it's only been about 5 or 6 years that this has started to really hit me. And it's just progressively getting like worse the older I get. Um, and so I'm still trying to figure out like how to deal with it, a lot of it. Um, Lately I do a lot of introspection, a lot of meditation, a lot of just thinking back. There's a lot of thinking back to this year because we're almost in the new year. I have been journaling a lot more lately. And I've been trying to just with my family, I do have a close relationship with them. So like this weekend, we're all getting together and chilling and having dinner. So I've been trying to get out and do a lot of that stuff and just trying to give myself the self-care that I need in this moment. I'm a nurse, and so this is the time of year that we do get busier also because it's flu season and it's winter and all of these people get sick. So there's a lot of that plays into effect. So I have to just really focus and give myself time in the mornings before I leave and before I go to bed at night and just sitting with myself and just, I've wore makeup a little bit more lately than usual. Like Vicki and me and you have done our videos. Like I've had my makeup on and just trying to get myself like feeling good, and it does make me feel good. So those are just the little things I've been doing. Like I said, I'm still learning this process. I'm still so if you ladies have any more tips, throw them out there because I'm still learning it. It's a learning curve, but it is getting better, and it is helping. So I'll have to see on that for right now. I'll turn it over to one of you ladies.
That sounds great. Laura, what has your experience been? Do you encounter seasonal depression or seasonal blues?
I would say so. I could speak from my own understanding and my own experience, and I would say that I thought I did. I one thing I certainly noticed at the turn that I actually noticed at the turn of every season is that my I changed. And I remember talking to you guys maybe a few weeks ago about doing something about like winter and like what that means to nature, because we are a part of nature. And what I realized is that every turn of the season, like we went from, trees being in bloom, fresh fragrances and flowers going through the air, to like this die off of leaves so that all this newness can come. And I really felt that. I mean, I live in the Seattle area. So we went from, our summer 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, it's getting dark, versus now it's about 3 to 4 p.m. And it was a fast transition. And I think with anything in nature, we really do have to remember that we are a part of the same system. We are not separate from it. And just like anything in nature, we're going to feel that the leaves shed, and they do that so that new stuff can grow. And so I thought that it wasn't okay for me to feel a certain way, even though I am going with the tide of nature and I'm going with the flow of nature. And I realized that it is okay for me to feel different. And in fact, it's part of my process. I'll speak for myself. It was part of my process for the transition that I'm going through, which is, winter for me is a lot of reflection. It's looking at the parts of my childhood self or my spirit self that may be, seeds underneath the snow, for example, that is something that I could break out of come spring, or I can reflect and I can dig deep. So in my experience, I just really thought that it was not okay for me to feel that, first of all. And it is, because we are a part of a bigger system. And the other thing is that I think it's an awareness, Chris. You mentioned when we're younger, we don't really know. Like what was it? There was a time living in Seattle where we had like 72 or 88 or something like that days of straight rain, and it was dark, and it's like this record in history, right? I don't remember it at all. I was just too young. I wasn't aware. I was living my life. My focus was elsewhere, right? And so when we get older, we really do become more aware of everything. And I think it's amazing because we become more aware of the positive, but we become more aware of the seemingly negative as well.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I'll say this and then I'll hand it over, is that I realized for me that everything is neutral, right? Like everything in my life is neutral. I'm the one that gives it meaning. I'm the one that fuels my thoughts around what I want to experience or accept or perceive. And if I want to give the season change a meaning, I get to do that. And it's up to me to put the meaning on that. So I'm not saying that there's not the ebbs and flows in the transition of nature, but I say I accepted that, first of all, that it's okay to feel however you want, especially when there's deep rest involved, or depression, because that's what it is. You're going through a deep rest. I'm going through a deep rest. And then just deciding, what can I do for myself to add more enjoyment in my life right now? Because I do enjoy the sunshine. I do want to be on a beach, but it's a season for something else. So what is the season teaching me? Where can I bring my attention and my perspective and my experience right here and now in the season that I'm in, instead of wanting to be someplace or somewhere different? So, but I'll end with that, and I'll just hand it over to Vicki.
Oh my God, I love that. I love what you both ladies have said. And, I recently heard somebody say that depression is sadness judged. And I was like, oh, just like laziness is resting judged.
Mhm.
Right. And I think this goes back to to whatever meaning we give to the emotion that might be arising. Right. And that's when we give it those meanings of laziness or depression and I think, to your point, Laura, it's perfectly fine to be sad, right? I'm not even going to call it depression because I don't want to judge it, to just be
Mhm.
sad, right? The experience that I'm having is that I can tell you very genuinely that when I'm in a happy place with like where I am, my experiences, like I'm finding myself being in a very creative space right now in my life. I'm going through a lot of change, but it's like fun change. And so I'll give you an example. So we just bought a new house, right? And we went there in pitch black, right, to see it as our home for the first time. I can honestly tell you, like, I was in such a state of joy. I didn't even know it was dark outside because it was so light on the inside for me to be there with my dog and my kids, and my sister came over, right? Like, there was just so much joyfulness in that moment. I didn't even know it was dark outside. Like, I was walking Ollie, but I was so happy outside, right? So I wonder if we just give like a particular moment in time meaning of whatever it is that we're going through, right? Because I can honestly tell you that when I lost somebody really close to me, um, and it was warm and balmy and beautiful and breezy outside, I must have been the saddest person on this planet. Or at least that's how I felt. Because I was giving the meaning to the balmy, breezy, beautiful, sensation, the meaning of, my God, I miss this person so much. So I think that there is a seasonal element to things, but it's a reflection of where we are at the moment in our lives and the experience that we're having in that moment. So I'll just pause right there. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
I like what both you guys said, and what Laura said definitely touched a little bit, and that definitely could be why when you mentioned becoming aware. And so I think that probably is a lot of it, even when you're like a young adult, like when my kids were young, I was in my 20s, early 30s, whatever, like I think that's what it was. It was like, maybe I just wasn't really aware of it. Plus, I lived like, now I'm out in the country too. So there's like nothing, but like back then too, I lived more in town, and it was just like, it didn't really matter that it was dark when my kids were young. We were always gone with like sporting events. And I think that's probably part of it too. Like we were always just busy doing things. And now like I only have one left in school, and he doesn't do a lot of the sports. So it's like, we're not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like it's literally just dark and cold. um, but there definitely is a reason for the seasons for sure. I mean, it is I definitely agree with that. But I really like that, the awareness aspect. Never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and the awareness too, what I experienced was I had an intense negative emotions, intense positive emotions. Like once I had tried to shut off the negative emotions for so long that it shut off the positive too. So once I opened myself up to say, okay, life, just give them to me, just give it all to me because I want to be human. I want to experience this.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah.
I was intense negative, intense positive. And then I realized that after I let all of that pass, our thoughts really do start as a thought and then creates the emotions that we feel. And another thing is that whenever, I can't speak for you, but whenever I've had like a really dramatic life change, I've had to recalibrate. So like Vicki, it could be losing somebody. It could be moving. It could be living in a different area. It could be becoming an empty nester. Right now, I'm realizing that, I had my daughter when I was 19 years old, and none of my friends had kids. We were all hanging out and stuff back then, but now all my friends have kids. And I'm almost like, I'm not retirement age, but I could technically, I'm going through like what people go through when they retire, which is like, what do I want to do with my time? What do I want to do with my space? And I think it's almost like a reinvention, and I, like my mom is retiring. She's 66 and she's literally like on the last 2 months of her 40-year career as a ER nurse. 42-year career, and she actually injured herself at the end, so she's having all this time to like sell her house, buy a RV, set up her retirement. Like she's having all of this time before retiring, so she's not just hit with it, right?
Yeah.
So she's like being able to go through a process, but it's like I notice, and I think that like as part of the season, and like life has seasons, right? And so for me, I've had to say, I realized it. I said, Robert, I'm like going through like I'm not going through empty nester. I'm going through with like I'm 42 years old, and my kids are grown up, my kid and all her friends, because they were all my kids.
Yeah.
And I have to redefine. I am always who I am in my inner essence, but I have to redefine what I do for the world. And I have to redefine what the relationship even with my daughter is, like come over for Christmas, and, like all of the things that you want your family to do. And like, like instead of like soccer or a sport, for example, Chrissy, we decided to, to maybe do yoga. Like there's always like an expression that wants to be made. There's something that wants to be born through you, or something that we're meant to receive when we're not feeling into alignment, or maybe even something that needs to be released. So I think everything has a purpose, and when it comes to recalibrating and readjusting what our roles in life are, it really for me has been like I have to find something to replace something that I enjoyed, so that used to be really frightening to me. I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to enjoy more than raising my kids and having a family and having like a big Christmas, and now I'm like, I do yoga classes in the morning, or we'll do some kind of workout, and then online classes that I like to teach, in-person classes that I like to teach. So my self-expression has changed. And then, lastly, like Vicki said, really just giving myself the non-judgment, because I really do feel like the word depression is just made up. It's literally just a word. Yeah. And we attach that meaning to it. And that's why it really transformed for me when I attached deep rest. It's like I need to go through some kind of deep rest, and if I break through it, and then I'm doing some kind of deep expression, then I'll be doing that. But I really do feel like it all has a purpose. So you might be, you, Chrissy, or anybody who's listening might be called to say, hey, this is a wake-up call, bring something else, bring some new energy in, or try some new things, or something like that.
This is so helpful right now. Like I'm having so many aha moments listening to you talk right now. And I'm like, aha, like the whole empty nest thing. Like I still have like my 19-year-old is still here. My youngest is still in school, but it still is like, my oldest graduated in 2020, you know what I mean? And they are like getting to that stage, like they're older now. And so I'm like, I never thought about that, because it's like, they're still here, but I'm like, maybe that's part of it too. You like when they're younger, like it's like, and they're, it's all these things, and it's, you're busy, like you said, with different activities. And then when that stopped, and it did kind of stop suddenly, I feel like, because of course, COVID had a huge part in that. A lot of things got stopped. And then I mean, my older kids, they used to play a lot of the sports and stuff, and then COVID kind of knocked everything out. And then now they're older and they're out of school. And so it was like a sudden thing that happened. There's like no preparing like your mom's getting to do. You know what I mean? It was just like boom, and now they're older and now it's so yeah, aha moments. So I'll turn it over.
Oh, I love that. And I think that interestingly enough, I think we're talking about transitions in life,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I have this guy at work who came into a lot of money. So it could be a lot of different things, right? That like put you into a transitional moment in life. And so he came into a lot of money and he was kind of like not super happy at work. And we got to talk and he was sharing with me how he's trying to decide like, okay, do I stay or do I go? And what I told him is that work is so much more than money. Work is a routine, it's a stability, it's like a belongingness of some sort. Like I know I wake up and I'm X, right? And we talked a lot about like, what would life be like if in like, let's say he resigned today in 2 weeks. I'm like, listen, you wake up, what do you do? Do you know what you would do? And he was like, no. And I'm like, yeah, so take this time, like Laura's mom, right? Like take this time to
Yeah.
figure out to do that transitioning, right? And I think we need to give ourselves some grace when we do go through that transition. And when we need to go through that transition, whether it's deep resting, right? I really like that term. I'm going to steal it. Whether it's deep resting, whether it's deep reflecting, whether it's just trying to rediscover you. One of the things that I encountered on my journey is I know that as I was stepping into my awakening during COVID, that was one of the biggest things that was one of my biggest moments is when I asked myself, well, who am I? Because we were on lockdown and all of a sudden, all the things that kept us externally busy were gone. And now I had to be with me. And that was the transition into coming into me, right? And rediscovering me. And I had to go through that transition in life. And as part of that transition, there was a lot of very deep sadness, deep resting. That was part of the process that I went through. And I feel like that is a being, right? Like that was the being of where I was as a spiritual being in that moment, right? And after the being phase, that's when I could transition into the doing phase. That's when I started to try different hobbies and I tried to like really rediscover myself and I tried to do all of the like cooking and writing and baking and like all sorts of different classes. But that only came after I took the time to deep rest. And it was so uncomfortable and awful. And it came with a lot of releasing and a lot of tears. But in that discomfort, I started to rediscover myself. So this is also a tremendous opportunity to rediscover yourself during this moment of deep rest.
I love the deep resting. I'm still on that too. Yeah, I definitely, that's more aha moments because I think it is transitioning. Like, and I think that's probably for me, that's what a lot of it is. There's a lot of different changes and, it doesn't even just have to be like your kids, empty nesting and all of that, but like us doing this challenge, Vicki, like moving into that type of a thing, like as exciting as it is. And it's like so joyous and fulfilling, but it's still like a transition. And so all of it. So I have a question for you ladies, and I don't know if you can speak on this. I can't personally, but how would you help somebody who maybe has lost a bunch of people? Maybe they don't have anybody for the holidays. Maybe I don't know if you guys have experienced that personally. I haven't. So I don't know if you guys have any insights for people on that.
I mean, I have, and there were years that I just spent Christmas by myself. And one of the things, there's a couple of things that I can say from my own experience. One is that I've come to terms with the fact that we are all enlightened, but for our own thinking and our own beliefs and our thoughts around things. So we enlightened being, we're light, we're full of joy and high vibrational energies 100% of the time. The only thing that affects those energies is our thinking and our beliefs. So knowing that knowing that I have been, I've spent holidays alone, and I've said, I'm okay with this. Like, for some people, that's the most amazing thing in the world. Like, finally, a holiday alone, And then for other people, it's like, oh, it's just so lonely and sad and nobody loves me, So I really do feel like the way that we think about things is really important, because it determines our emotions, our thoughts, or energy that affect our nervous system and our energy system, and we feel them as emotions. But that said, if we are ever in a state where we're feeling like there is an external circumstance that is getting in the way of that happiness and love and feeling that joy, what I do now is I look at it and I wonder, is this a cue for me to be somewhere else? Is this because our thoughts do affect our reality, but if we're in the wrong place, the universe is going to try to get our attention, right? So that said, it might not be the wrong place that I was in. It could be that I just needed community, and some people have said, that's what I need. I just need community. I need people. I need people in my life. I don't even care if it's family. I'll just get my own family. You're right. It doesn't have to be family. I just want friends. I just want food. I just want laughter. So what they're really wanting is community, because we're such on like a human level. It's so natural. And for me, I withdrew from community for years. I withdrew so I could heal. You know how you go back, you go into your hermit shell and you sit there and you like baste and heal and deep rest and recover. And then you go out into the world. And what I noticed is, like, for years, I was like, Robert, I just want to be in my cave. I don't want to come out of my cave. Why do you have to make me do a YouTube video? I don't want to do a YouTube video. And he's like, okay. And now I'm like, I can't stay in this cave. I need to get out of this cave, So like, where's my community? And I've been like that, like for years, I was like, I'm not going to teach. You teach, you're fine. I don't want to teach martial arts. I don't know if I'd be any good at. And one day I was like, why didn't you ask me for help? I could have just went out there. I could, and then all of a sudden I was ready, and then I started teaching. But like, I think really, again, everything after we can get past, like, is this my own thinking making me sad? And I'm just like feeling sorry for myself. And is there a positive way that I could give meaning to being by myself or with minimal people? Or is there something that I need in my life, like community? Because I really feel like my personal experience is like, I love people. Before I went through trauma, I was very much like community oriented too. So I'm not surprised that I'm moving back into that. But I ask, like, how can I build that community? How can I start a community? How can I contribute to a community? Where can I volunteer? Who can I help out? Because we do have like a lot of families that go to the homeless shelters and stuff. So like, for example, I'm doing a coat drive at the school because I always like to say, how can I give back? How can I reach out? Because that makes me feel good, right? So I'm always looking, like, if I feel, where can I, because the joy comes from within, but what can I do to help me feel more joy and experience that more on a regular basis, even if I'm alone, because I'm okay being alone, now, to me. So, for Christmas, we don't do a lot of gifts or anything most of the time, unless we could do like experiences and stuff like that. Just because if we want something, we go and buy it, stuff like that. But we do like to give to other people. So yeah, I mean, what did you hear in any of that, Chrissy? Did any of that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I was asking you guys, because I've never had to deal, like I said, we have a very small, it's just very intimate. It's my kids and me and my mom and dad, but like, we're all still here. Like, I'm so grateful that I still have my parents who are, aging at this point. I still have my children. And so even though it's small and intimate, like, I still have them. So like, I still have people. And so, but I know I have a lot of patients and stuff that don't, like, they're alone. And, personally, I've just never dealt with that. So I was just looking, to try and help people who may be dealing with that, looking for some help. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll just say this and I'll hand it over to Vicki, is that some of us are meant to bring community together. And that's where our creativity can really come into play, because you probably have more than one patient that could, write a letter or write a Christmas card to another patient and they can exchange or something like that. You could do like a little, or like, and I know that you're in like a hospital setting, right? So
a home health. I do home health.
Yeah. So, but I think we all have the power and the capacity to bring community together. And I feel like it's a beautiful thing if we can figure out how to make it work. But that's what I would recommend is, if we don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
I think that this is a really profound question, Chrissy. And I mean, I'm very blessed because, like you, I do have family and I have my kids and I have my mom, my sister, right? And a family in Boston. So, but I definitely had been extremely lonesome. I wasn't alone, but I definitely had a period where it was quite lonesome. And I think that maybe one of the best things that you can do when you're in that place is just accept it. Accept it just as it is. I think acceptance was a really, really big part of it for me. I think the other thing that I've also learned is that friendship is a verb. Friendship is a verb. And one of the things that no matter how busy I am, I've learned to reach out. I learned to reach out to friends, to family. And I've started quite a few different circles here. So like I started a walking club. Interestingly enough, like when you start to get into that energy, like people literally will fall out of the sky into your life. So I started a walking club, and people who didn't know each other whatsoever all wanted to be in this walking club. The only connector in all of it was me. And I was like introducing and it would be like randomness, right? Like a friend I met in town, and then connecting her with some of the moms that are friends with my kids, right? Like they're completely not connected, but yet they would know each other and they all started connecting. I started a book club because they really love to read. So like I was in a book club, and people that I wasn't really friendly with joined the book club, and I got to know them. And I started like brunches, like once a month brunches, right? Like, so I try to create traditions with the people in my life, and I connect the people, even though they don't know each other. I still try to be the connector between all of them so that we can all get to know one another. And what I've learned is that if I want connection, I have to I don't wait for somebody else to create the connection for me anymore. Because I used to sit and wait for that. I used to sit and wait for the invitation. And now I'm the one doing the inviting. And it doesn't have to be to my home. It can be walking, book club, let's go out for coffee, whatever. And I think that it's okay for us to reach out. It's okay for us to reach out to other people. Certainly, one or two people in this world. If you don't, you can join maybe a Facebook community. You can join, like, like I have a dog. I joined a Facebook community for that dog breed. And I reached out and I said, hey, I would love for my dog to play with other dogs that are of the same breed because I want him to have friends. And I literally had 19 people respond back to me. Humanity wants to connect. Is that your doggy?
You're muted, Kristen.
I was hollering at Aiden to get my dog. That's why.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying, like, I think humanity is hungry for connection. And so like, maybe like the biggest lesson, and I'm sorry I'm rambling, maybe the biggest lesson that I have learned is that I reach out. I'm the one to reach out now.
Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know that you'd started all those groups, Vicki. It's awesome.
Oh my God, I'm like the crazy lady in my town. Everybody laughs, but you know, like now I'm known for my crazy. That's what I'm known for, you know?
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And,
like it.
and the thing is that like we make these assumptions, oh, so and so is not gonna like so and so. And you know what? I kind of like let go of all of that because I used to keep these like very separate circles of friends, like, oh, like that's here, and then that's really like nice and packed there. But now I like started interconnecting. Like my best friend, I connected her with the friends that like my kids whose moms I befriended, right? And I connected them and we all came together into a book club and we were reading like the best book clubs. And as part of that, we go out to dinner and we rotate. Like sometimes it's a sushi night or sometimes it's a this and that, right? And it's like it gives us something to look forward to. Or like my other girlfriend, who's literally 15 years older than me, she's like, hey, want to go for a walk and bring all of your other friends and like let's all go out for a walk in the reservation. And so like I'll start a text chain and I'm like, hey, who wants to go out for a walk? Right? Like I I am reaching out to people now.
That's awesome. So I was like that for a while and we were like connecting. There was a bunch of different connecting going on. But then like after my awakening happened, like some of them are spiritual and some of them are there, but a lot of them weren't. And so once my awakening happened, a lot of that kind of felt like we just weren't aligned anymore. So now I'm like in like hermit mode. Like, I don't do anything just because so far like I haven't met anybody else here who is, you know what I mean? And it just wasn't, I don't know. It just wasn't like we're all still friends. I love everybody. It's just like the hanging out and the like going out to dinners and doing all of those things just doesn't really happen now, you know. It's just a different vibe.
But what's your story around that?
What do you mean?
So is your story that like other people can't like aren't coming into your life? Like are
Oh
you
no, because like everything happens like when I've told you before, Vicki, like that whole story, like literally like that kind of started falling apart. Like we just all kind of stopped hanging out and things just weren't working. 2 days later is when like you messaged me about like do you mean like so I've never like I don't have a story around it because to me it's like you're always where you're supposed to be. The universe has always got your back, like everything is for and like sometimes you fall away from people but you come back together later. Like I have one of my best friends, like I mean, we had like we kind of fell apart for like a few years and then came back together. Like, you know what I mean? Like we both grew and then like came back together. Like we just had different things to get through. So I feel like no, I don't have a story around it at all. Like I feel like everything happens for a reason and you know, everybody's on their own journey. And so I just feel like sometimes the energy, like sometimes people are still in some dark spaces like I was a couple years ago. And so like I think when you have someone who's still dealing with that and someone else who's becoming enlightened and this like more of it, like it does clash. Like sometimes like you're a trigger for them because they're like in a different place. And so sometimes you just have to kind of love each other from afar. You know what I mean? For a minute and then you just come back eventually. Or you don't. Either way, it's fine.
have you tried taking classes? So I took the most randomest classes. I took pottery, I took tennis, I took like everything. And it's not that I was making friends in those classes. Like I'm not
Mhm,
gonna lie to you. I did walk out with a couple of friends from those activities.
mhm.
But I think I was starting to get into the energy of getting out because I was in hermit mode for like 2 years.
Yeah, well, the problem with
Three,
it, and
yeah.
there probably is some things around here, but there's really like it's even though this is a college town, like it's still a small town. Like there's really like we don't have a yoga studio, like we don't have pottery class, like we don't have those type of things that you guys are talking about. Like you have to drive like an hour, and it's dark when I get off of work, and I don't want to be out in it anyway. So it's like, yeah, it's just not something. I mean, during the summer, like I definitely do a lot more, but we just don't have a lot of those things here you know I'm sure we probably have some yoga around here somewhere, but I've looked for it. Like I even asked Planet Fitness one time about it. I was like, where can you do yoga at around here? And they were like, I don't know. Like it's a college town. We don't know. No yoga. I was like, okay. It's weird.
Yeah, our city just opened the first yoga studio. We drove by it like a week ago and I was like, oh my God, it's a yoga studio. We have to go check it out. And but luckily, like we live in a city where there's a bunch of cities around. We just don't like to drive a half an hour away. But I do understand like the ebbs and flows of like people. I mean, I think it happens in every relationship that we separate and we either stay that way or we come back together, or we separate or we come back together. And when we're on different frequencies and in different wavelengths with our thoughts, we can really be distant in a certain way, especially when we're healing. But I think one of the most profound things that I learned is that I used to always feel like I couldn't, not always, but I used to feel like I couldn't connect to some people. Like there's something in the way. There was something in the way I wasn't connecting, like I wasn't around the right people to connect with. And what I realized is that we are all 100% connected. It's actually impossible for us to be out of connection with each other. We're always connected just by nature because we're one spiritual being, essentially. So the only thing that was keeping me out of connection with other people was my own illusion of whatever was in the way. And so every person, it was a little different. I'm like, oh, I wonder why I feel like I can't connect with this person. And sometimes somebody else might have walls up, but that doesn't mean that I have to, So I started letting those go. And I always I realized that no matter where I am, because I live in a kind of like, I don't want to say, it's kind of like a small town, but not really. It's actually really hard to explain because we're like right on it's like a valley. Mount Rainier's right here, and then cities are all around it. So it's kind of like this little pocket. But I realized that like if I expanded my vision to like just being like of the planet. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I was like, wow, I could really just be anywhere on Earth and be 100% connected to everybody. But that's it. That's one thing. And then I liked what Vicki said about like taking initiative, because it feels really weird, first of all, if you're an empty nester or you're going through a life transition or a big change in your life. It feels really weird to turn the spotlight on you and find the things that you like to do, like really like to do, whether they be online or in person.
Yeah.
It feels really strange to go and try new things. I'm sure, Vicki, you can say like, yeah, like I went through that. I was like, it feels really weird to take my focus off of my kids and my family and my house and everything and like put it on me. I'm like, it doesn't feel wrong. It's so unknown that you're like, what if I hate it? What if I hate it? But I'll tell you that like the more things you can try and the faster you can just decide whether you like them or not, you'll just get through that. But I really do think too that online has a lot of community, a lot of community options just to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's really opened up a world of possibilities, just connecting with people in these different Facebook groups or different, just communities online. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot about the difference between being alone and loneliness.
There's a difference, right? Yeah.
Such a deep difference.
Such a difference.
And like, I love what Laura said, like, I love being alone. And I used to be petrified of being alone, because alone equated with loneliness. And I never knew that the two were different. Loneliness is emptiness. Alone is just beingness.
Just being alone. So there is such a difference, because back when I like had this huge social life and was gone every day and just running and doing all of these things, like I was so lonely. When I look back, and now like, and it was just like an emptiness that I wasn't even aware of. And now like I'm literally home alone after work in my pajamas doing nothing, but I'm not lonely. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. Like I don't have sadness. Like I don't sit here and think of how lonely, because I'm not lonely. But I mean, so it's so different. It really is.
I had feelings of like tremendous loneliness, like earth shattering emptiness, like years ago. Like I was just, it feels so, it's so hard to explain, right? It feels like you could be around anybody and everybody, and just
Yeah.
there's just a big hole or something's missing. So anybody that's feeling that, one of the things that helped me get through that really deep loneliness was realizing that a lot of that was from my childhood to some extent, like that loneliness when you needed somebody and nobody was there, you know. And now realizing that like the person that I am today is the person that I would have felt safe with as a kid, right? And I was missing a part of me essentially when I felt really lonely, and knowing that it'll pass got me through that. But as far as being alone, I am like, will you just leave me here so I can stay by myself? I love being alone.
Right.
I'm like, I haven't been alone for like 2 days now. So like I can't even process. Like I can't even process my emotions, my thoughts, everything I've learned. I'm like, I'm so like full of like stuff, like learning and everything. Like I can't even, until I'm alone, I just can't even digest it. So like that's just part of my energy makeup. And not everybody has that, right? That's just part of who I am. So
That's so funny. Yeah, like I used to be such like I needed to have people around me at all times, but I think it's because I was having such loneliness, I just didn't know it. And now I'm like I get home and like my phone will ring. And like I got home from work today and my phone rings. I'm like, I don't want to answer it. I don't want to talk. Like I'm just, but I'm happy. Like I'm fine. I was just like sitting here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was working and doing different things and I didn't want to take the time I answered it, but I didn't want to for a minute. So.
yeah. Well, and you know, one thing I can't stand, this is what I can't stand. I can't stand it when I don't have a creative outlet. I already know myself. If I'm not singing, playing the guitar, doing something to move my energy in my body, I get very stagnant and it starts hurting my energy flow. So having a creative expression, I always recommend to anybody, it doesn't matter if it's crafting, painting, singing, anything like that, it gets your energy going. Also, if there is a path that we're meant to jump on in life and we're ignoring it or we're not seeing it, it gets louder and louder and louder, right? So
Yeah.
I've known, so like I'm kind of good at noticing those cues. It's like you have to listen to your guidance, go this way, go this way, go this way, you know. And if you don't turn, once you're like, was that a sound? Did I hear that right? You know, am I supposed to turn? It just gets louder and louder, and then you get into this uncomfort. And then I'm like, am I in discomfort? And am I just trying to avoid change? Right. So you're always trying to like figure out and navigate your highest life path. But I've definitely noticed that when there is like when I'm on a path and I'm not listening to myself, I'm not listening to my higher self, or I'm not listening to my guides, or I'm not responding, it really gets loud, and then you can get lonely, you can get through the depression, you can get the noise, and you're like and then you readjust, because that has happened to me. Like I've made so many programs, I'm like, this is going to be great, so excited, and then the next thing you know, the universe is like, look over here, you know. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden it's like on my lap, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know. But we really can use the barometer of like our inner compass too, that is always trying to direct us. It's always directing us, right? We're always guided. So I just want to throw that in there, because if there was like 2 months where I was alone, I was not really doing anything. I loved it. It was amazing. I was having the best time. I'm like, is this what retirement feels like? I'm sure I'll get bored eventually, but whatever. And then all of a sudden I got really, really uncomfortable. And I heard life saying like, all right, chop, chop, you know? So I really do feel like everything is for a reason. We're always being guided. And there's always something that we can do. Like Vicki said, we have free will to initiate change. We have free will to reach out to people, old friends, new friends, meet people online. Like, and I just feel like that's really important because all of that is our own power. You know, if we dismiss any of that, we're not utilizing our power to our fullest extent. Um, and we really can. We can meet new people. I meet new people every day, you know, and it's exciting to me now. It used to terrify me. Now I'm like, yay, I met new people, you know, and they're great. And you really feel the connection. And I'm always like, instead of, you know, I'm always just wondering, like you, Vicki, you said the magic of life, how it unfolds. Now I'm just like wondering where it's going to go next. I'm curious and I have no expectations, but I'm like, I know there's a reason for where I'm at right now. I'm pretty sure my antennas are up and I followed all my guidance so far. I don't think there's anything else that I can do out of free will that I haven't already done. So what do I have? You know, let's look deeper. And then I go deeper and deeper. And then I'm like understanding why I am exactly where I am right here, right now, with everybody in my life the way they are, or, you know, or who is here, and who isn't. So.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it.
There was something that you said, Laura, about, you know, loneliness coming from your childhood. I wanted to shine a light on that. I think especially for people who are raised by single parents and who, like you and I were both raised by single moms who were probably working 24/7 to put food on our table, right? So there's such deep emptiness that builds in children like that, you know, who grow up like that. And I really, really resonate with that. And the irony of it is that I never realized that that's where my emptiness and loneliness stemmed from. And it's not because our moms didn't adore us. It's not because it's just that they like literally physically could not be there because they were working to provide for us.
They had to provide for you. Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, for any of those, you know, people who had parents who were missing for one reason or the other, whether it was divorce or whether they were working all the time, right? Like it could be so many different things. A lot of times emptiness does stem from that childhood. So, the other thing that I heard you, Christy, say is that you're like, I come home, I'm alone, and then my phone rings, right? And I'm totally fine. I wanted to double down on that because, you know, it's interesting because the more that we are kind of like in our own frame and we're not in need of other people, the more other people flow into our lives.
Right.
You don't have that needy energy about you. You're just like in your own frame. And so I think that the more that you can come into your own, be your own self, find yourself and look within, introspect and try to find you, the more the outside world is going to just start to flow into your life. Because just like Laura said, so much of the magic just happens. Like my kids will be like, you know, they think I'm weird and crazy. But, you know, they're like, oh my God, again, you made a friend. They're just like, they don't understand how it all happens, but it literally does. I'll be like, I met so and so said that they're friends with like their son is friends with you. Is that true? I've never heard of this. And like my daughter will be like, how? I'm like, I was walking Ollie. And then like, and everything unfolds and unravels, right? And so I think that the more that like you're in your own frame, the more that this type of magic is going to get attracted to you.
It just wants to come into you. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about that too is that like, and that it is strange because like, and like I'll have people message me like people I went to school with and have known for years. And like I'll get messages that'll be like, you know, like your post really helped me. And like, I know there's a lot of people like waking up, and there is people around here that like I went to school with, haven't seen for years, that are like probably more aligned, but it's like, I'm just in this energy, which is strange because my psychic told me, Bree told me that, I need to go out and interact with people in person again. But I'm like, and I want to eventually, but like right now I'm just happy. Like, I mean, I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, but there is people there. Like we just graduated from with my trauma reboot class last night. We're in a group message, and like that's cool. Like I want to hang out with and make friends and do all these things. But right now I'm just in a season of like, I'm okay. I'm content. Like we're doing the challenge. That's like super exciting, you know, and like Christmas is coming, the new year is coming, all of these things. And so I'm like, right now, I'm content with being online and being home. And like another month or a couple, whatever, it might change. And that'll be fine too, you know?
So, Chrissy, you have mentioned this challenge a couple of times. What is this challenge all about? Do tell.
This I know. I was like, well, I know we haven't promoted here yet. The 7-day weight release challenge that me and Vicki are going to be doing launches January 1st. Did you put that in the did you put that on here? Do you have it?
No, I did not. We need a moderator on here.
We do need a moderator.
But I am over the moon excited to be sharing.
It is exciting. And it's just, yeah. So I think, yeah, so for right now, like, because we're gonna be doing this, and we're gonna be doing all kinds of more challenges coming up down the road, and yeah, and it's a good contentment, and it's an excitement, and I just, you know,
Yep.
yeah.
And one of the reasons I'm so excited about our new home, don't judge and don't laugh, but it's because it has a phenomenal kitchen, and that means I can start baking again. So Laura talked about singing and playing the guitar. For me, it's dance and baking. Like so much of my creativity comes through in baking because
Mine too.
You too, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
me too. Yeah.
you like to bake? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Yes. I love baking, and Robert will eat all of it. So I don't even eat it because I try to master my gluten-free recipes, and I don't do a lot of sugar, but like I'll just say he's my guinea pig. So I get to bake anything and everything. But yeah,
I wish I liked it. I don't like it. I don't like to cook. I don't like it. Yeah, but I don't like the kitchen.
Well, liking your kitchen helps because, you know, but it is so fun. I'm like, it's like science experiments and creativity and baking with love all at the same time. Yeah, I love baking.
Yes. And I like to experiment with alcohol in my baking because so in all seriousness, what it does is the alcohol will cook, what do you call it? It cooks off, but the moisture and the flavor remains. And so your baked goods will come out amazing. So like, I'm already like, I'm like, I wonder if I could do that with cookies, or I wonder if I could like, so I have like and I love, love, love to bake. But when I have a bad kitchen right now, I just stopped baking. And yet, like, baking is such an outlet of happiness for me, And so, like, I'm so over the moon excited about that because now I know I can start baking again. And I remember telling Danny, my little one, I kept saying, all right, if the house has a double oven, that's the sign, Danny. That's the sign that this is the house. And when we saw their house, she whispered in my ear, she goes, Mommy has a double oven. I go, that was our code for if this is our home or not. So like every house would go and look at, she and I would go into the kitchen like immediately, and it'd be like one oven or two, right? And so like it would always be our sign, and she'd be like, one oven, Mommy. I was like, oh, no, it's not the house. It's not the house. So like I'm so over the moon excited because I'm like already like I'm just excited about like pouring that creativity into baking again.
Yes. And I think that's amazing, Vicki, because like you know that about yourself. Like I think as we all get older, we learn these things about ourselves. Like I knew playing the guitar was an outlet for me, like when I'm 20 years old or whenever I first picked up my first guitar. But like I had to learn like what do I like now? And that really does change and evolve. And I love pottery, by the way. I'm gonna get one of those wheels. I absolutely love it. And
I would love to try it, but I'd probably be a mess. Like the wheel, it looks so
but
cool.
that's the
I've never done
fun
it.
part. That's the
Yeah.
It's
fun part.
awful. No,
And
it's awful, Laura. It's awful. The thing flies off if you don't put it
No,
wrong way.
I've done it, so I know I like it. I've done it. I actually have some pottery around that my daughter and I made. So I really do like it, but like the outlet that like this house doesn't serve is gardening. I love to garden. I love to just go out back and pick tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce and just bring it in and make like, and I love to grow my own flowers for the table. Like I've always loved doing that. So, and as I get older, like the need is stronger, right? So like I'm like, if we get a house that has to have like sunlight like in the yard and a big enough yard, because we're kind of like we're right behind like a reserve. So there's like a forest. So we have like huge trees in the backyard, so it just kind of shades us right here. But I think that's amazing that like on the topic of like, creativity and knowing yourself and being with yourself and loving yourself is when you do find that outlet, you don't feel alone because you're kind of feeding like your spirit with like creativity. And then Vicki, I just wanted to add this too, when you talked about the loneliness, feeling loneliness and childhood, is that I had like this flashback when you said it, and it's like when your needs aren't 100% met when you're a child and you're going up to somebody that you think can help, like your mother or just an older sibling, and like you're talking about what you need and it's not responded to with care or with love. That's what we learn, right? And so then when we're growing up and we feel lonely and there's nobody for us to go to, and nothing's being responded to with our need or with love, then we have to find that in ourselves. And I think that being lonely really taught me that was finding that love within myself. It's not going to come from anywhere else. But when you're a kid, you don't know that. And obviously we're not taught that. But I think part of loving ourselves is doing that, getting the house that has a double oven, getting the house with the yard and the garden, and Chrissy, just finding whatever it is that you fancy, even if it's for a whole week, and then you switch to something else, because I cannot, like, we are creative beings, like we are part of creation. And if we're not creating, we're going to feel really stagnant. And
so to touch on that a little bit, and I haven't went to the store and bought them yet, but so I have never been able to like draw or paint or anything. Like literally, I can color inside the lines, but that's about it. Like I can't draw a stick figure, like nothing, right? But I've had this urge, I've had it for weeks now, to paint. Like I just want to paint. So I mentioned it to my psychic once because I'm like, why do I want I can't paint, like what? And she said, like, because your inner child wants to come out and play. Like your inner child wants to just release and be creative. And I'm like, I just haven't went to Walmart yet because I've been in hermit mode. But so that's just interesting you said that, because it's like this need. And I'm like, I'll be driving down the road and I'm like, I get this in my head, like I need to go paint. I'm like, why? Why do I want to paint? Like, I don't know. So
Yes. Amazon. Stop waiting to go to Walmart. Get on Amazon tonight and just order paint supplies.
I got to order Amazon anyway. So yeah.
No more excuses. Just like no, literally, right?
Yeah.
I think, so one of the things that I've really been feeling into lately is like, okay, it's the end of the year. What do I want my next year to be? I wrote myself a letter of, my future self. So Vicki in 2024, what am I telling myself? Where do I want to be? But here's the thing, like I felt into all the emotions that I want to experience: freedom, joyfulness, creativity, right? Like, but the thing is, like, if I don't take any actions towards it, it's never going to happen. So what is the one little baby step I can take towards it? So that's the one thing is like, I'm going to hold you accountable for ordering those painting supplies because it's calling to you. It's definitely higher self calling to you.
I've got some in my car. I just haven't I bought a lot of stuff in my car. I got to go through it, but I don't know exactly what I should get. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess just whatever will work.
browse and it'll like start browsing online and
Uh-huh.
like it'll jump out at you and you'll be like, oh, you
Yeah.
know, this is
Yeah.
perfect. The price is perfect and the activity is perfect, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we probably are on close to time, but I'll add this too,
Been
is
such a good
that
conversation.
is that
Great conversation. Yeah.
you guys like the key to quantum leaps is decisions. Decisions. I've been looking at people that are very successful coaches and like $5,000 a month coaches and $100,000 a month coaches. The difference is decisions. Like by the time the $5,000 a month coach has made one decision, the $100,000 a month coach has made 30 decisions and failed 25 times. So like when we make decisions, we change realities. Like our decision making skill, it's a skill, it's not a personality trait, but our decision making is how you will change your reality moving into not only the new year, but like where your life is right now. Like Chrissy, you just deciding like, okay, I'm going to listen to myself. I'm going to buy these paints. Maybe you'll meet somebody at Walmart, or maybe you just don't know where. I can't even, come up with where that might go for you. But like every decision we make puts us on another projection. So, just decide. Like, again, it's a skill when we just decide to do something different or decide to take action. And that's why I love that you said action, Vicki, because action is the physical expression of even an idea, right? So if we don't do anything with it, it's just energy that's sitting there. But I do have another thing that I'd like to say. If something keeps bothering me like that, I don't even question it. I just go get the paint supplies. I'm like, here, Robert, you're going to do this with me tonight because I don't know. I don't know why, but we're going to do it. And then you'll find out. Right. So, just wanted to add that.
Oh, this has been such a great conversation. Like it's just been really awesome. I hope it's helpful to people that are listening.
Yeah, me too.
This has been amazing. This has been really, really great. So thank you, ladies. I love this conversation. I hope for those of you who are listening, if you are going through sadness or say hello to my daughter. Say hi.
Hey, I can't see her hardly. There she is.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Hello. Please hurt. It really hurts. Chrissy, I might have to call you. She's having like eye pain, so I might call you. But so for those of you, so life moments, right? Real life. This is how it happens. But for those of you who are listening, if you are dealing with what you feel is depression, let's remember that it's depressed, and let's not judge it, right? Let's just rest without judgment. Let's be sad without judgment. So and that's within our control, right? How we talk to ourselves is within our control. So let's at least control and empower ourselves with that, and let's not judge ourselves. I think the other big thing that came through is just being aware, right? Placing awareness on how we're feeling. I think the third thing that came through was, if you want connection, then be the connector. Reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out online, reach out in the physical world, reach out. Have the intention of reaching out we have no idea what might happen, but at least be willing to put yourself out there. And number 4 is take action towards the life that you want to live. Any little micro step that you can take that gets you closer to how you want to feel when you wake up in the morning. Laura, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, make a decision and then stand by your decision, because all your decisions are good. They're all good. Every single one.
And one more thing I want to add too, I tell all of my patients this, but pay attention to that inner feeling and pay attention to your body, because your body is going to and that feeling is going to if you just feel like sitting on the couch all day and resting, do it. If you feel like going out and making connections or going out, taking yourself to dinner, whatever it is, just do it. Pay attention to that, because it's probably something that you need, whether it's rest or connection or whatever it is. So, yeah.
I love that. All right. Well, yet another profound conversation this evening. I know I always learn from you ladies, so thank you.
It's
I'm
been
so
so
grateful.
great.
I'm so grateful for you.
Likewise. Grateful for you too.
Okay. Well, bye, ladies.
Bye,
All
ladies.
right. Bye, ladies.